Wash your hands, people. Wear your face mask. Don't go out if you're sick. Let's stop the spread of this thing, all right?
Hi everyone, I'm Steve.
And I'm Mary.
Welcome to Our Life V3. Somebody said life comes at you fast, and it sure did this last week. 4 days ago, we started out on the Paparoa track. As we started that morning with our transport drivers taking us to the start of the track, life was just normal. People were going on. New Zealand had suspended international travel into the country, but everything seemed to be still pretty normal. We got dropped off and started walking. We arrived at our first hut that night. Two gentlemen said, "Hey, looks like we just moved to a level 2. On our second night at the Moonlight Hut,
we're in the Moonlight Tops hut. This is night 2 of 3. We just got an email that basically says all Great Walks, all visitor center, all huts, all lodges, all campsites are closed effective immediately. World, stop going crazy. Wash your damn hands.
On our third night, we arrived at the hut and it was almost vacant. There were 4 of us total. No one had any signal. We didn't know any different. And the next day we started out toward the town. Well, it turns out that during the scope of those 4 days, we had gone from a level 1 to a level 3. And, oh, by the way, welcome off the track. Everyone must be self-isolated within a building for the next 4 weeks by midnight or risk being arrested. There's a brief recap of what brought us to this point.
All right, so let's talk about how the COVID-19, how many infections there are in New Zealand. So as of the March 26th at 9:30, there were 283 known or probable infections. Fortunately, only 7 of the infected people are currently hospitalized. So when we got off the track, we were on the west coast of the South Island and we were trying to decide where we wanted to be. We decided that we would get to a little bit larger of a population area, so Christchurch was our target.
It's a trade-off. There is a lot of benefit of being in the lower population of the West Coast. Being in Christchurch made more sense, more resources, an airport if it needed to happen.
Right, plus we were able to secure lodging. There were a lot more choices of lodging. Well, while we were out hiking, one of the first things that we started to discuss was, hey, what are we going to do if this thing goes south? What's our plan B, C, D?
Plan A was always 2 years out. Almost a year in New Zealand, followed by a year in Australia, and then maybe India. But obviously things are changing very dynamically, and you do have to discuss and prepare for the opportunities as they come up and obstacles as you approach them.
Right. So we immediately started discussing and trying to decide, hey, do we just return to the United States? Or do we stay here if, this thing gets any worse?
So one of the benefits to staying in New Zealand, the chances of actually catching something here are far more minimal than being back in the United States.
The population of New Zealand is about 5 million people. So, as far as less dense, I guess it did, check 1 for New Zealand there.
The second was, there's a lot of things still left to do in New Zealand. The big benefit is all the nature. The government's still saying, get out there, enjoy nature, just keep your social distancing, don't pack in groups, and don't go out with people that you don't know.
Right.
My inner circle is right here.
This is our bubble.
In the circle.
This is our bubble.
The circle of Steve and Mary. Another benefit for us is when we started traveling, we bought the World Health Insurance. This actually covers us everywhere we go in the world except the United States.
Yeah, there's a few other exclusions to that, but yeah, if we went back to the United States, we would have to add that on. And that's really
even hope
costly.
that it could be added on.
Yeah, and that can be very costly.
Adding to the health insurance, getting on a plane right now actually increases the risk of us catching the virus.
Yeah, that was a big con for us returning. Is aside from the virus, you can pick up all sorts of other diseases along the way, and we just don't want our immune system any further down. So if we do come in contact with the virus, we need to be as healthy as we possibly can be.
Now, on the other hand, there is a con. The United States healthcare system is very robust. Lots of doctors, lots to do. Here it's a little more spaced out. It is a nationalized health system, and it is harder to get in and see a doctor.
Yeah, they do have some limited resources. The pros for returning to the United States, though,
Yes.
are we do have Fritz there. So we have our van in our home that is more equipped for full-time living with a shower and a proper toilet and proper cooking, unlike what we have here.
Another benefit to staying here on the island was the Kiwi spirit. These guys are very generous, friendly, easygoing people.
If we return to the United States, we do have a support system there. We do have friends and family that I'm sure we could stay with. And
Here there's a little less certainty about what's happening. We don't know if we're going to be here for 4 weeks, 4 months, 4 years at this point, and we really don't know the country's rules, and we're kind of learning them as we go.
right, it seems like every day emails coming in from the Ministry of Immigration. And it's like, if your visa expires before this date, then you have to reapply. If it expires between these dates, they're going to automatically renew into September, the end of September. Ours, it ends beyond that date. So, I guess we're just going to have to keep paying attention to if our date ever gets there and what we need to do. Lastly, I guess another con for leaving right now would be, selling Kiki. There are tons of vans on the market. Everyone from Europe just kind of that cut and ran. So, overall, we had already come to the conclusion that we were just going to stay here in New Zealand and wait it out and see what happened.
Right.
We are in level 4 lockdown.
So level 1, when we started the hike, is to prepare. Disease is contained. They thought they had basically started all the precautions, screening people at the airport, locking down international travel. However, at level 2, their plan was to try to reduce the containment by really limiting community interaction. They asked people to wash hands more frequently, stay at home, don't travel as much when you could. However, when we hit level 3, they basically told everybody, you are restricted in travel. You are not to travel unless it's really needed.
Right. This is because the disease is not contained and it is being spread throughout the community.
Now, when we got off the trail, of course, it went to level 4, and that is every attempt to eliminate the disease. Everybody was told you are to stay self-contained for 4 weeks minimum. We're in a hotel, everybody's home. It's amazing, if you go out on the street right now, you'll see very few people out. There's still 1 or 2. Car traffic is down, shopping is very limited.
Right, so let's talk a little bit about, what level 4 means here. Essential services are available. We can get groceries. There are rules around it. We'll go through those here in a little bit. We can get medicine. Pharmacies are open. Building supplies, they have Mitre 10. It's kind of like a Lowe's or Home Depot here. However, it's only open to contractors. So if you have something broken, a contractor can go get parts to fix your isolation bubble containment center.
We were amazed at how many people were still coming into New Zealand and they were not locking the border down.
They did lock China and Iran. Those were the 2 that they did lock, but they didn't lock anywhere else.
Yeah. And then we sat in a couple-week period where they hemmed and hawed and asked people. Then they finally came up with, all right, you could still come in our country, but once you're here, you have to self-isolate for 14 days. There's a lot of kids that come in here to tour around that really blew that off and thought, well, I'll just go live in a tent somewhere, that's self-isolating enough. You can't stay in a hostel, you can't stay in a van using communal areas, so that obviously didn't work out real well. Hence, they were slow to lock the borders down. On the other hand, once they did lock the borders down, they did it right. They locked it down and said, okay, now we're self-isolating, now we're taking this very seriously.
Yeah, I think it's when some of their countrymen came back with the disease, and one had spread it to a high schooler who went to school, and they said, whoa. And then immediately it was like, boom, boom, boom. I think that happened right before this walk started. And then it was like, all of a sudden, this thing is serious. We're seeing it explode. And we are taking it from this level 1, level 2 to a level 4 immediately. And there really wasn't much discussion or prep.
Yep, we're done.
When they did decide to do that, boy, they really took care of their people because they knew there was going to be a lot of stress on them. So immediately, mortgage holiday, 6 months. Don't worry about your payment. Don't worry about your interest for 6 months. We're not going to kick anybody out of their house. It doesn't make sense to kick anybody out of their house because they have nowhere to go and they want them isolated.
They used common sense. Okay.
They're still trying to figure out what to do with renters. And there's some proposals out there. They immediately went to, hey, you know what? All restaurants are closed. All takeaways are closed. And takeaways are like fast food, like fish and chip shops where you run in and you grab something and you take it away to eat it. In the United States, they still have restaurants for carryout available, not here. I mean, it is grocery and you're on your own cooking. Because of that, they decided to put a package in for, I think it's 12 weeks unemployment at 80% of their wages.
The American government, we've watched you guys piss around for weeks trying to figure out how to get a stimulus package through, something these guys did in days.
Yeah, because they just started, what do people need? Okay, you don't need unemployment at 100%, because you're not going to be spending that. You know, if they take care of rent, you're not going to be driving your car as much. You're not going to be going to work. You're not going to be eating out. You're not going to be shopping. I mean, there's just a lot of things, just the essentials. What do you need? George Bailey standing there. What do you need to get yourself through this?
They said, what do we need to stop this virus? Locking people down, making sure they had access to health, food, and medical.
Yep.
Come on. So then driving from the West Coast over to Christchurch, of course, we had to buy petrol. Gas. A couple times. And even that's changed. So a normal convenience store, you walk in, get your hot dog off the grill, a cup of coffee, pay for your gas, and go out. We're totally shut down. You basically had a window, and it was like being in the middle of a ghetto at night. You had to pay through the window. You had to tap your credit card on the screen and the glass, and the lady was behind. Yeah.
When we got to the hotel, it was 100% self-check-in. They had lock boxes at the door, gave us a code to get into the lockbox to let us in. There is no servicing at all. If we need new fresh towels or bed linens, we are to call them the night before. They will arrange for a contactless exchange of towels and laundry. They do have laundry facilities on site for people to use, but we're only allowed to have one person in at a time, and it has limited hours. In grocery stores, they were limiting the number of people in at a time. They all had masks on, gloves on.
They've put plexiglass shields between where you're talking to the counter person now, so there's no more face-to-face. You can look at the guy through a plexiglass shield.
Right.
They're even asking people don't use cash as much.
And every other checkout is closed. So just to keep that space, that minimum 2-meter space. And we cannot go into a grocery store together. It's one person per family into the grocery store. We have to bag our own groceries, which isn't a big deal. They limit the amount of time you have in there.
So what is left open? Accommodations, border crossing for citizens, building and construction, courts, tribunals, and justice systems, critical crown entities such as the Electoral Commission, because you might need to elect a new government, fast-moving goods, supply and demand, financial services, health services, ambulance services, mortuary services, local and national government buildings, key public services, primary industries, vet services, public safety, emergency services, security and intelligence services, public safety and national security, science services, social services, transports, logistics, utilities, and communications. They're pretty clear on don't drive if you cannot, and if you are driving, don't be concerned if you get pulled over and asked why you're driving.
Yep.
They're checking in on everybody. You have to keep 2 meters away from everybody outside of your bubble. Here's my bubble.
Also, e-scooters are being removed from the streets, so as to not encourage people to go out and go beyond the areas that they need to be going to at this time. So what are we going to do to keep ourselves busy over the next 4 weeks? Because we don't like to sit.
Yeah,
I mean,
sitting's not our usual thing,
Yeah.
so we are going to be sitting. Ugh. What are you going to do in there?
Yeah.
We're going to make videos.
Yeah, so we have a whole backload of videos to get out. We'll keep you all updated as to how we're doing also as the days progress. We unfortunately don't have any games, board games or puzzles or anything. It was all pretty much shut down before we got here, but we do have cards, so we've been playing cards. You can take short walks around the area.
We are going to live a little more luxuriously. We have a shower now. Showers every day.
So another thing, we'll be talking with friends and family a lot more because we have better communication. We do have Wi-Fi here, so
Yeah.
it's going to be easier and more constant communication.
That's our update for today. Thanks for joining us. Stay safe wherever you're at.
Yeah, stay safe and healthy.
Find your dream, put a mask on it, and own it.
Take care, everyone.